The first thing you need to know about me is that I'm not the kind of man who gets played for a fool twice. The second thing is that my wife Denise never bothered to learn the first thing. I'm Franklin Hayes, 59 years old, retired Army colonel turned security consultant. For 23 years, I thought I had a solid marriage. Turns out I had a 23-year performance review, and I'd been failing since day one. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. The revelation came at our annual family barbecue, right there in our backyard in Brookline, Massachusetts, surrounded by Denise's socialite friends and her razor-tongued sister, Valerie. I was manning the grill, doing what I always did, keeping my mouth shut and my hands busy while the women folk gossiped and the men pretended to care about the Red Sox. "Franklin, honey," Denise called out in that syrupy voice she used when she wanted to embarrass me publicly, "could you please change that shirt? You look like you raided a thrift store." I glanced down at my perfectly respectable polo shirt, the same brand I'd worn for 15 years. "What's wrong with it?" "Everything," she laughed, and her friends tittered like a bunch of hens. I swear, sometimes I feel like I'm married to my grandfather. The laughter got louder. I felt my jaw tighten, but kept flipping burgers. This was nothing new. Denise had been taking shots at me for months. My clothes, my hobbies, my boring job running background checks and installing security systems. "At least grandfathers are faithful," Valerie said quietly from her lawn chair. The laughter faded. You could hear the sizzle of meat on the grill and nothing else. "What did you say?" Denise's voice had gone sharp. Valerie took a sip of her wine and smiled. "I said at least grandfathers are faithful. You know, unlike wives who have lunch meetings that run until midnight." I stopped flipping burgers. In 30 years of military service and 10 years of private security work, I'd developed a sixth sense for when situations were about to go sideways. This was one of those moments. "Valerie, you're drunk," Denise said, but her voice was shaking. "Am I?" "Because I was at Chez Laurent last Tuesday when you were having your business dinner with that tech guy. Jason something, very handsy for a client meeting." The silence stretched like a rubber band about to snap. Denise's face had gone white, then red, then white again. Her friends were suddenly fascinated by their drinks. I set down my spatula and turned around. "Jason King, you mean? The guy who owns that app company downtown?" Valerie nodded. "That's the one. Seemed real friendly, especially when they went up to his penthouse afterward." Now everyone was staring at Denise, who looked like she wanted to crawl into the ground. But instead of apologizing or explaining, she did what she always did when cornered. She attacked. "You know what, Franklin? Yes, I've been seeing Jason. And you know why? Because I'm tired of being married to a museum piece. I'm 45 years old, and I feel like I'm living with my father. When's the last time we did anything exciting? When's the last time you surprised me?" The backyard had gone quiet. Even the neighbors had stopped their own conversations to listen. "I surprise you every day," I said calmly. "I come home, I pay the bills, I don't cheat on you." "That's not surprising, Franklin. That's the bare minimum. I need more than that. I need someone who makes me feel alive." She was crying now, but they weren't tears of remorse. They were tears of frustration, like a child throwing a tantrum because she got caught stealing cookies. "How long?" I asked. "Does it matter?" "How long, Denise?" She wiped her nose with the back of her hand, smearing her makeup. 6 months, maybe 7. I nodded slowly, then walked over to the patio table where I'd left my briefcase. I pulled out a manila envelope and handed it to her. "What's this?" "Divorce papers. Already filed and notarized. Congratulations, you're free to feel as alive as you want." The envelope fell from her hands like she'd been electrocuted. "You can't be serious." "Absolutely serious. I had them drawn up 3 weeks ago, right after I installed those new security cameras at your dealership. Amazing what people will do when they think nobody's watching." Her face went ashen. "You were spying on me." "I was doing my job. Your boss hired my firm to upgrade his security system after those break-ins last month. Imagine my surprise when I reviewed the footage and saw my wife having a very intimate conversation with a customer in the service bay after hours." The crowd was riveted now. This was better than cable television. "You had no right." "I had every right. I'm a licensed private investigator, and I was conducting legitimate business. What you and Jason did in front of those cameras was your choice." I pulled out another envelope. "Speaking of choices, here's the deed transfer for the house. It's now owned by Hayes Security LLC, which is owned by me. You have 30 days to find new accommodations. You can't throw me out of my own house. It was never your house, Denise. It was our house. Now it's my house. There's a difference. She was hyperventilating now, looking around desperately for support from her friends. But they were all suddenly very interested in their phones, or their drinks, or anything that didn't involve eye contact. This is insane, Franklin. We can work this out. We can go to counseling. We could have gone to counseling 6 months ago before you started working late with Jason. We could have talked about whatever was making you unhappy. Instead, you decided to humiliate me behind my back and then in front of our friends and family. I turned to Valerie, who was watching the whole thing with barely concealed satisfaction. Val, there's one more thing in my briefcase for you. She raised an eyebrow. For me? I handed her a set of keys. The BMW convertible. It's yours now. Consider it a thank you gift for being honest when nobody else would. Valerie's mouth fell open. Franklin, I can't. You can, and you will. It's already transferred. Besides, Denise won't be needing it where she's going. Where I'm going? What the hell does that mean? I smiled for the first time all day. Well, you'll need to find an apartment that allows pets. I hear Jason has a very nice penthouse downtown. Maybe he'll let you move in with him and his 3 cats. The look of confusion on her face was priceless. 3 cats? Jason doesn't have cats. He's allergic. He does now. I had them delivered this morning, along with enough cat food and litter for a month. The delivery guy said Jason seemed very surprised. Now Valerie was laughing openly, and even some of Denise's friends were struggling to keep straight faces. You're insane, Denise whispered. No, I'm thorough. It's what made me a good soldier and a good investigator. It's also what's going to make me very good at being your ex-husband. I started packing up my briefcase. The barbecue's over, folks. Thanks for coming. Denise, your things will be boxed up and waiting on the front porch by tomorrow evening. I suggest you bring a truck. As I headed for the house, I could hear Denise sobbing and her friends making awkward excuses to leave. Valerie caught up with me at the back door. Franklin, wait. I turned around. What? I need to tell you something. About Jason. And about Denise. I already know about Jason. No, you don't. There's more. I studied her face. Valerie had always been the smarter of the 2 sisters, the one with better instincts and fewer illusions. If she said there was more, there was more. Come inside, I said. Let's talk. We sat in my kitchen while the party dissolved outside. Through the window, I could see Denise's friends making hasty exits while she stood alone by the grill, still crying. Jason isn't her first affair, Valerie said without preamble. I wasn't surprised, but I was curious. Who else? Her boss at the dealership, for one. That started about 2 years ago. Then there was her personal trainer, her accountant, and some guy she met at a conference in Chicago. You knew about all of this? Valerie nodded. I tried to talk to her about it. I told her she was going to destroy her marriage and hurt you. You know what she said? What? She said you were too stupid and too boring to ever figure it out. She said you'd never leave because you didn't have the balls. I felt something cold settle in my chest. It wasn't anger, exactly. It was something more focused than that. There's something else, Valerie continued. She's been stealing from the dealership. Small amounts at first, but it's gotten bigger. She's been skimming from the service department receipts and pocketing cash payments. How do you know? Because she asked me to help her hide it. She wanted me to set up a fake consulting company so she could run the money through my business accounts. I leaned back in my chair. And did you? Hell no, but I didn't turn her in either. I should have, but she's my sister. Not anymore, I said. After today, you don't owe her anything. Valerie was quiet for a long moment. Franklin, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest with me. Shoot. Are you going to hurt her? I mean, really hurt her? I considered the question carefully. Define hurt. You know what I mean. No, Val. I'm not going to lay a finger on her. I don't need to. Denise is going to destroy herself. I'm just going to make sure she does it efficiently. She nodded slowly. Good. Because I'd hate to have to visit you in prison. You won't have to. Everything I'm going to do is perfectly legal. What are you going to do? I smiled. I'm going to give her exactly what she asked for. Freedom, adventure, excitement, all the things she said I couldn't provide. That sounds ominous. It should. Over the next 3 days, I put my plan into motion. The first step was gathering intelligence, something I'd gotten very good at during my years in the Army and my decade in private security. I started with Jason King. A few phone calls to contacts in the tech industry revealed that his company was hemorrhaging money and he was desperately looking for investors. He'd been bragging to people that he was about to land a big fish, a wealthy older woman who was going to bankroll his next venture. That would be my wife. Or rather, my soon-to-be ex-wife, who had no money of her own and no legal claim to mine. Next, I called Denise's boss at the dealership. Tom Morrison and I had served together in Desert Storm, which was how I'd gotten the security contract in the first place. Tom, it's Franklin. We need to talk. About what? About your service department receipts. And about Denise. There was a long pause. Come in tomorrow morning, early. I arrived at Morrison Motors at 7 a.m., an hour before they opened. Tom was waiting for me in his office with a pot of coffee and a grim expression. How bad is it? He asked without preamble. How long have you suspected? 6 months, maybe longer. The numbers haven't been adding up, but I couldn't prove anything. I pulled out a flash drive and handed it to him. Security footage from your own cameras. Denise has been pocketing cash payments and altering the computer records to hide the shortfall. I estimate she's stolen about $15,000 over the past 18 months. Tom plugged in the flash drive and watched the footage in silence. When it was over, he sat back in his chair and rubbed his face. Jesus, Franklin, I'm sorry. Don't be. You didn't make her steal from you. What do you want me to do? Whatever you think is appropriate. Fire her, prosecute her, or just let her dig the hole deeper. It's your call. What would you do? I thought about it. I'd fire her today, publicly. Let word get around the industry. She'll never work at another dealership in Boston. Tom nodded. Consider it done. One more thing. She's going to try to buy a car from you in the next few days. Something expensive. Don't let her. Why would she try to buy a car? Doesn't she already have the BMW? Not anymore. I gave it to her sister. Tom actually smiled at that. You gave Denise's car to Valerie? Seemed like the right thing to do. You're a heartless bastard, Franklin Hayes. I'm just getting started. I spent the rest of the morning at my office, making phone calls and sending emails. By lunchtime, I had a complete picture of Denise's financial situation. It wasn't pretty. She had about $3,000 in her personal checking account, no savings, and credit cards that were maxed out. Her salary at the dealership was her only source of income, and as of this morning, she no longer had that. She also had no idea what was coming. My phone rang around 2 p.m. It was Denise, and she was crying. Franklin, please, we need to talk. We talked 3 days ago, in front of 20 people. I thought I was pretty clear. Tom fired me. He says I stole money from the dealership. Did you? That's not the point. That's exactly the point, Denise. Did you steal money from your employer? Silence. I needed the money, she finally said. You never gave me enough for the things I wanted. I gave you everything you asked for. You gave me what you thought I should have. There's a difference. I had to admire her logic. Even caught red-handed, she was still making it my fault. Where are you now? I asked. At Jason's place. But Franklin, there's a problem. What kind of problem? He's different than I thought. He's not as successful as he pretended to be, and he's angry about something. He keeps talking about cats. I couldn't help but smile. Cats can be very demanding pets. This isn't funny, Franklin. I need help. I need money. Then get a job. I can't get a job. Tom called every dealership in the city. Nobody will hire me. Then get a different kind of job. Doing what? I've been selling cars for 15 years. It's all I know. You'll figure something out. You're a resourceful woman. Franklin, please. I made a mistake. I know that now. Can't we work this out? For just a moment, I felt a flicker of the old sympathy. This was the woman I'd loved for 23 years, the woman I'd built a life with. She was scared and desperate, and part of me wanted to help her. Then I remembered her words at the barbecue. Too stupid and too boring to ever figure it out. Didn't have the balls to leave. No, Denise. We can't work this out. You made your choice. But I love you. No, you don't. You love the security I provided. You love the house and the car and the credit cards. But you don't love me. If you did, you wouldn't have spent 2 years screwing half of Boston behind my back. She was sobbing now. It wasn't 2 years, and it wasn't half of Boston. You're right. According to Valerie, it was closer to 3 years, and it was only 4 or 5 guys. My mistake. The line went quiet, except for her crying. Your things are on the front porch, I said. I'd suggest you pick them up soon. It's supposed to rain tonight. I hung up and turned off my phone. I had work to do. That evening, I drove past the house to see if Denise had picked up her belongings. She had, but she'd left behind a mess of cardboard boxes and packing tape on the lawn. Classy to the end. I was about to head home to my temporary apartment when I saw a familiar car parked across the street. Jason King's Tesla, the same one I'd seen in the dealership security footage. I parked around the corner and walked back, staying in the shadows. Through the living room window, I could see Jason and Denise having what looked like a heated argument. She was gesticulating wildly, and he was shaking his head. I couldn't hear what they were saying, but I could guess. She was asking for money, and he was explaining that he didn't have any. After about 10 minutes, they came outside. Jason was carrying a suitcase, and Denise was following him, still talking rapidly. He threw the suitcase in his trunk and got in the car without opening her door. She stood on the sidewalk as he drove away, leaving her alone in front of the house that used to be hers. I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. The next morning, I got a call from Valerie. "Franklin, we have a problem." "What kind of problem?" "Denise showed up at my apartment last night. She wants to stay with me." "What did you tell her?" "I told her no. She's furious about the car, by the way. She says you had no right to give it to me." "She's probably right about that. Do you want to give it back?" "Hell no, I love this car, but Franklin, she's desperate. She's talking about doing something stupid." "Like what?" "She won't say, but she keeps asking questions about your business. Where you keep your files, how much money you make, whether you have any enemies." That got my attention. "What kind of questions about enemies?" "She wanted to know if anyone had ever threatened you, if you carried a gun, if you had security at your office." I felt that familiar cold feeling in my chest. "Val, I need you to stay away from her. Don't let her in your apartment, don't lend her money, and don't give her any information about me." "You think she's planning something?" "I think she's desperate, and desperate people do unpredictable things. Should I call the police?" "Not yet, but keep your doors locked and call me if she shows up again." I spent the rest of the day making preparations. I moved my most sensitive files to a secure off-site location, installed additional security cameras at my office, and made sure my concealed carry permit was up to date. I also made some phone calls to old Army buddies who worked in law enforcement. If Denise was planning something stupid, I wanted to be ready. As it turned out, I didn't have to wait long. That evening, I was working late at my office when the motion sensors picked up movement in the parking lot. I checked the security monitors and saw two figures approaching the building. One was Denise, the other was a man I didn't recognize, tall, heavy-set, wearing a baseball cap pulled low over his face. They tried the front door first, then moved around to the back of the building. I watched on the monitors as Denise pointed to various windows and explained something to her companion. I called 911 and reported a break-in in progress, then settled back to watch the show. They tried to jimmy the back door first, then moved to a ground-floor window. The man had some kind of tool, a crowbar or a tire iron, and was working on the window frame while Denise kept watch. What they didn't know was that I'd installed a state-of-the-art alarm system with motion sensors, pressure plates, and silent alarms that went directly to the police station. They also didn't know that I was sitting in my office on the second floor, recording everything. The window alarm went off just as they got it open. They froze for a moment, then the man boosted Denise through the window and followed her inside. I could hear them moving around downstairs, opening filing cabinets and desk drawers. Denise was directing the search, telling him to look for client files and financial records. "There's got to be something we can use," I heard her say. "He's got dirt on half the city. We just need to find it." They were in my office for about 10 minutes before the police arrived. I heard car doors slamming and voices shouting commands, then footsteps on the stairs. When the officers brought them up to my office in handcuffs, Denise looked like she'd seen a ghost. "Hello, sweetheart," I said. "Working late?" "You snake? You were here the whole time?" "It's my office. Where else would I be?" The lead officer, a sergeant named Rodriguez, looked at the monitors showing the break-in footage. "Pretty clear-cut case of breaking and entering. You want to press charges?" "Absolutely." Denise was staring at me with pure hatred. "This isn't over, Franklin." "Yes, it is." As they led her away, she was still screaming threats and accusations. Her companion, who turned out to be some guy she'd met at a bar, kept trying to explain that she'd told him it was her office and she'd locked herself out. I spent the next 2 hours giving statements and filling out paperwork. By the time I got home, it was almost midnight. But I wasn't done yet. The next morning, I called Tom Morrison again. "Tom, it's Franklin. I need another favor." "What now?" "Denise was arrested last night for breaking into my office. The story's going to be in the papers. I thought you should know." "Jesus, is she okay?" "She's fine, but she's also looking at felony charges. Breaking and entering, attempted theft, conspiracy. Her lawyer's going to try to plea bargain, but she's probably going to do some time." Tom was quiet for a moment. "What do you need from me?" "I need you to call the bonding company that handles your dealership's insurance. Tell them you want to file a claim for the money Denise stole." "Why?" "Because if there's an active insurance fraud investigation, it becomes much harder for her to plea bargain on the breaking and entering charges. The DA won't want to give her a deal if there are other felonies pending." You want to make sure she goes to prison. I want to make sure she faces the consequences of her choices. Tom sighed. I'll make the call. Thanks. I owe you. No, you don't. She stole from me too. That afternoon, I got a call from Denise's lawyer. He wanted to meet. We sat in his office downtown, a cramped space that smelled like coffee and desperation. The lawyer, a public defender named Williams, looked like he hadn't slept in days. Mr. Hayes, my client would like to discuss a settlement. What kind of settlement? She's willing to plead guilty to the breaking and entering charge in exchange for your agreement not to pursue civil damages. I pretended to consider it. What's she offering? A formal apology and a promise to stay away from you and your business. That's it? She doesn't have any money, Mr. Hayes. She can't pay damages even if you win a judgment. What about the insurance fraud charges? Williams looked uncomfortable. Those are still pending. The insurance company is conducting their own investigation. So she wants me to drop my charges while she's still facing felony fraud charges from someone else? The charges are related, Mr. Hayes. If you're willing to characterize the break-in as a domestic dispute rather than a commercial burglary, it might help with the insurance case. I leaned back in my chair. Let me make sure I understand this. Denise cheated on me, stole from her employer, tried to blackmail me, and broke into my office. Now she wants me to help her avoid the consequences. She made some bad choices. She made a lot of bad choices. Over a period of several years. This isn't a momentary lapse in judgment. Williams nodded. I understand your position, but she's looking at serious prison time. 5 to 10 years if she's convicted on all charges. Good. He blinked. Excuse me? I said good. She should go to prison. Maybe it'll give her time to think about the kind of person she's become. Mr. Hayes, I don't think you understand. I understand perfectly. You want me to help your client avoid responsibility for her actions. The answer is no. I stood up to leave. Mr. Hayes, wait. What if she were willing to provide information about other criminal activity? I stopped. What kind of information? She knows about other people who've been stealing from local businesses, people she's worked with. She might be willing to cooperate with prosecutors. She's going to rat out her friends to save herself. It's a possibility. I thought about it for a moment. Tell you what, counselor. I'll consider dropping the civil suit if she pleads guilty to all charges and serves at least 2 years in prison, but I won't help her reduce the criminal charges. That's not much of an offer. It's the only offer she's going to get. I left William sitting in his office and drove home. I had one more call to make. Valerie, it's Franklin. We need to talk. About what? About Denise, and about what happens next. We met at a coffee shop in Cambridge, neutral territory where we could talk without being overheard. Valerie looked tired and stressed. How are you holding up? I asked. I've been better. It's been a hell of a week. Any word from Denise? She called me from jail. She wanted me to post bail. Did you? No. I don't have that kind of money, and even if I did, I wouldn't. She made this mess herself. I nodded. Good. She needs to face this. Franklin, can I ask you something? Sure. Are you happy? I mean, now that it's over, do you feel better? I considered the question. I feel satisfied, like I finished something that needed finishing. Do you miss her? I miss the woman I thought she was. But that woman never really existed. Valerie stirred her coffee thoughtfully. You know, I used to envy Denise. She had the house, the car, the successful husband. I thought she had everything. What do you think now? I think she threw it all away for nothing. Jason turned out to be broke and living off his credit cards. The other guys were just using her. She gave up a good life for a bunch of fantasies. Some people need to learn things the hard way. And some people never learn at all. We sat in comfortable silence for a while, watching the college students hurry past the window. What are you going to do now? Valerie asked. Keep working. Maybe travel a little. I've got some army buddies in Colorado who keep inviting me to visit. That sounds nice. What about you? I don't know. This whole thing has made me think about my own life. Maybe it's time for some changes. Good changes, I hope, she smiled. We'll see. 3 months later, Denise pleaded guilty to breaking and entering, theft, and insurance fraud. She was sentenced to 3 years in state prison with the possibility of parole after 18 months. I didn't attend the sentencing hearing, but Valerie did. She called me afterward to let me know what happened. She looked awful, Franklin, like she'd aged 10 years. How did she take the sentence? Better than I expected. I think she was relieved it was finally over. Did she say anything about me? She asked me to tell you she was sorry, for all of it. I thought about that for a while. Do you believe her? I think she's sorry she got caught. I'm not sure she's sorry she did it. That's what I figured. Franklin? Yeah? Thank you. For what? For not destroying her completely. You could have, you know. You had enough dirt on her to ruin her life forever. Her life is ruined, Val. She's going to prison. But she'll get out eventually, and when she does, she'll have a chance to start over. You gave her that. I wasn't sure I'd given Denise anything except exactly what she deserved, but I appreciated Valerie's perspective. 6 months after that, I got a letter from Denise in prison. It was short and to the point. Franklin, I know you probably don't want to hear from me, but I needed to write this. I've had a lot of time to think about what I did and why I did it. You were right about everything. I threw away the best thing in my life because I was selfish and stupid. I don't expect you to forgive me, but I wanted you to know that I understand now what I lost. I hope you're happy. You deserve to be. Denise. I read the letter twice, then put it in my desk drawer. I never answered it. A year later, Valerie and I were married in a small ceremony in Vermont. It surprised everyone, including us. We'd started spending more time together after Denise's arrest, first as friends, then as something more. Are you sure about this? She asked me the night before the wedding. I mean, marrying your ex-wife's sister? People are going to talk. Let them talk, I said. I've learned not to care what other people think. Even if they think you're getting revenge on Denise by marrying me? Are you marrying me to get revenge on Denise? No, I'm marrying you because I love you. Then that's all that matters. Denise was released from prison 2 months after our wedding. She moved to Florida and got a job at a used car lot in Tampa. We heard through mutual friends that she was doing okay. Not great, but okay. She never tried to contact me again. 5 years later, I'm sitting in my office in the same building where Denise tried to break in all those years ago. Business is good, my marriage is solid, and I sleep well at night. Sometimes people ask me if I regret how I handled the divorce. They think I was too harsh, too calculating, too cold. Maybe they're right. But here's what I learned from 23 years of marriage to a woman who thought I was too stupid to figure out what she was doing. Sometimes the best revenge isn't getting even. Sometimes it's just letting people face the natural consequences of their own choices. Denise wanted excitement and adventure. She got it. She wanted to be free from her boring, predictable husband. She got that too. And I got something I didn't even know I wanted. A second chance at happiness with someone who actually loves me for who I am, not what I can provide. In the end, we all got exactly what we deserved.